All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're looking at the Shang Dynasty, which is honestly a massive cornerstone of human history. Why? Because they're the very first Chinese dynasty to actually leave behind written records. Decoding an ancient civilization is, rarely a walk in the park. But the Shang, they left us a fascinating trail of clues that helps us reconstruct the very dawn of an empire.
So it begs the question, how exactly do we unlock the secrets of a society that existed over 3,000 years ago? Without video, audio, or, digital archives to fall back on, we have to play detective. We literally have to look to the earth. The artifacts preserved right there in the dirt are our only real way to reconstruct an empire that absolutely shaped the future of the world.
Let's lay down the timeline first. The Shang tribe consolidated some serious power around 1600 BC, and they held on to it all the way until 1046 BC. Now, sure, historians love to debate whether they were technically the absolute first Chinese dynasty. A lot of people argue they actually came after the legendary Zhou dynasty. But regardless of that debate, the Shang undeniably dominated this vast stretch of time before finally falling to the Zhou dynasty.
And their origin story? It sounds straight out of a blockbuster movie. Legend has it that the Shang were united under the heroic Cheng Tong. He rose up and violently seized control from the tyrannical King Ji of the Xia dynasty, setting the stage for a totally new era. It's your classic tale of triumph over tyranny, and that is what formally kicked off the Shang dynasty.
From that defining moment, the Shang maintained control over the highly strategic Yellow River Valley for half a millennium. Think about that for a second. 500 years! To sustain that kind of authority across multiple centuries and even move capital cities on several occasions, well, that required an unprecedented level of organization.
But if you're wondering what our most undeniable proof of this 500-year reign is, it comes down to something absolutely fascinating: oracle bones. And no, these weren't just discarded scraps from dinner. They were highly sacred tools that the Shang used to divine the future and communicate with the supernatural. We are talking about literal magic and religion etched right into bone.
The process itself was incredibly methodical. Religious leaders would start by carving a specific question, maybe about harvests, the weather, or an upcoming war, right into the bone. Then they'd subject it to intense heat until the pressure caused these violent fractures. By reading those seemingly random cracks, they believed they were actually interpreting divine answers. And those answers were then meticulously recorded on the flip side of the bone.
So when modern archaeologists finally brushed the dirt away from these turtle shells and animal bones, they didn't just find the scars of ancient fires. The markings left behind are actually the very first known examples of written Chinese history. We're looking at direct questions posed to the gods and answers received by kings from over 3,000 years ago. It's just wild to think about.
And get this, it wasn't just some isolated practice. Archaeologists have unearthed thousands upon thousands of these oracle bones. When you put them all together, they form this massive, fragmented diary that details the daily fears, the wars, and the economy of an entire civilization.
This whole practice catalyzed a real game changer, the formal invention of writing. And what's truly remarkable, especially for linguists and historians, is that this 3,000-year-old script shares direct similarities with modern Chinese characters today. The foundational DNA of one of the world's most widely spoken languages was literally codified right there on burned turtle shells.
Of course, this monumental invention of writing wasn't just for predicting the weather, it was a powerful tool for control. It enabled the Shang to build a highly organized, super strict government hierarchy. You had the king sitting at the very top, surrounded by closely related high-level royal officials. Down the ladder, powerful warlords ruled specific areas of land, swearing their allegiance to the king. And writing? That allowed the central government to meticulously track and collect taxes from the people and exact tributes from their allied regions.
Now, enforcing those taxes and holding on to that much land, that required some serious force. Those regional warlords we just talked about, they were obligated to supply the king with soldiers during times of war. This created an elite, well-equipped fighting force that absolutely dominated the battlefield.
And the Shang held a massive, deadly advantage over their enemies. They developed advanced bronze technology. But here's the kicker. They strictly restricted this metal from the common people. So you wouldn't see bronze being used for everyday farming tools. Oh no, bronze was reserved for crafting beautiful religious items and devastating weapons of war, like incredibly sharp spears. When you combine that superior weaponry with lightning-fast horse-drawn chariots, it's pretty easy to see exactly how they maintained such a tight grip on the Yellow River Valley for so long. But, human nature rarely changes, and history has a really profound way of repeating itself. Remember how the Shang dynasty began when the heroic Cheng Tang defeated a corrupt ruler? Well, 5 centuries later, the Shang government itself became deeply corrupt under King Dixin. And just like the guy before him, Dixin was violently overthrown, this time by Wu of Zhou. That event officially brought the 500-year Shang dynasty to a close.
Now, while those thousands of oracle bones are absolutely our primary window into this era, we don't rely on them entirely to corroborate the history. Later ancient Chinese historians like Sima Qian from the Han Dynasty did a lot of work compiling histories of the eras that came before him. Plus, modern archaeologists have found these short historical inscriptions cast directly into those beautiful bronze religious artifacts, which gives us even more context into the spiritual and political lives of the Shang.
So as the Zhou dynasty takes over and we wrap up this explainer, it leaves us with a truly provocative thought about the future of ancient China. We've just seen the invention of writing, the mastery of bronze, and the rise and fall of massive armies. But as these dynasties continue to evolve and grow and inevitably face new, even larger threats from the north, we really have to wonder, how and when does the legendary Great Wall of China finally enter the picture to protect the empires that followed the Shang? Well, that is a massive story for another time. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.